We're going to go ahead and get started here. I want to welcome you all to the regularly scheduled meeting for the governing body of Spring Hill, Kansas on Thursday, November 14th, 2024. If you guys could stand with me, Pastor Joel Otwell with Grace Community Church is here to do the invocation.
Father, we just bow in your presence this evening and just are humbled by your invitation to call on your name. We're humbled that the one true living God would make yourself accessible to us. And we're humbled that this same God would give a rip about a little community called Spring Hill, Kansas. But we know you do. We know that's your heart. And you've invited us to bring our cares and our concerns and our very lives before you. And so we want to do that tonight. We invite you, God, to make yourself known in the midst of this community, to draw people to yourself. And we invite you, Lord, to help us, to bring wisdom and direction and help so that people's lives can flourish in ways that bring you honor and glory. We pray for those in positions of leadership, that you would give them humility and integrity and wisdom as they make decisions, as they lead, whatever decisions are before them tonight and in the coming weeks and months. We just pray for your help and direction. We just thank you that you love us and that you're for us. And so we call on you tonight. And we ask for your help and direction in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Peel is unable to be with us tonight, but with that, Madam Deputy Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Mr. Van Houten?
Here.
Ms. Feeback?
Here.
Mr. Peel? Not here. Mr. Young?
Here.
Mr. Grant?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. We did have a request to move an item off of the consent agenda on to the formal council action, and that is item number 9. So we are going to move that to formal council action. We'll put that in as item number 14A. So you guys want to note that down? Other
Mayor.
than that, are there any other? Yes, ma'am.
The item, I believe, is actually item number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Sorry, number 2. Number 2 to moving to number 14A. Yep. With that, are there any other requested changes or additions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to citizen participation. This is a time when the public can come in and speak about whatever they would like to talk about. We do ask that you, when you come up to the lectern, that you state your name and your address. We do have the first person on the list is Mr. Bill Peterman.
Thank you. Bill Peterman, 19431 West 200th Street. I just wanted to bring up, trying to think, the high school is on Merlin?
Ridgeview.
On Ridgeview. Ridgeview from the high school north by the grade school has got shoulders that have wore off. You know how the dirt along the side and the gravel? Well, what's gonna happen now is we're gonna get snow. People aren't gonna see where that is, and it's gonna be like it was about 6 years ago. If we get enough snow, you're gonna have about 6 or 7 wrecks out there because when they fall off the edge, when they go to come back, they get jerked and it creates a spin for them. So if there's some way that we can get the city's people to go out and put a nice little foot-long gravel and dirt or whatever, just so that it's not gonna, cause you got a lot of high school kids driving there, but you got a lot of parents driving there, and the parents were the ones that had the wrecks, had about 6 or 7 accidents 2 years ago. Now, it was about 6 years ago. I brought it up when Steve was here, and Steve asked you how many reports did we have, and we only had 2 reports.
That would be like 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay. But not everybody turns in their skips and slides and whatever, so. But there was about 7 of them, 6 or 7 of them, you could see from the way the snow was turned up. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
And thank both of you. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. We'll definitely take a look at that. And that is all that's signed up on the list, but if there's anyone else in the audience that would like to speak, now would be your time. If not, we'll go ahead and close citizen participation this time and move on to the consent agenda. These are items that the staff considers to be routine maintenance, but if there are any questions or comments, now would be the time.
No.
If not, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Or is it as amended?
Well, as amended
Yeah.
technically, I guess. Yeah.
Move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to formal council action. The first item on the agenda is consider approval of appropriation order number 2024-11-14. And Mrs. Dunn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Tonight we have the appropriation order, which has been typically in most recent times as a consent item. We now move it to a formal action item because our newest council member, Mr. Grant, owns a business here in Springville that the city does business with. And he has an invoice that we're paying on this appropriation order. And his business name is Skylark Printing, and the event invoice is for $110. That was actually for product that was ordered before he came from a council member. But we just wanted to point out to the public that will change in any time that Mr. Grant's business has an invoice on here. It'll be on the formal agenda for appropriate action to be taken. And Mr. Grant will not be voting to approve payments to himself, which is standard policy.
And did you already give him how to say it? Okay. Let's say it's been a while since we had to
Yeah,
deal with
that's
that.
It has been a little while.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
Any other questions or comments on that? If not, I entertain a motion.
Let's see. I move to approve the appropriation order number 2024-11-14.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Mr. Grant?
I approve approach, yes.
Yes, excluding.
And then there should be something for you to read,
read,
Yeah.
accepting.
Okay, I approve appropriation order number 2024-11-14, accepting that I partially abstain from voting on invoices pertaining to Skylark Printing LLC.
Perfect.
Thank you. Mr. Van Houten?
Yes.
Ms. Feback,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
All right. Appropriation order, 2024-11-14 passes 4-0-0.
Awesome, thank you. Next, we'll move on to consider approval of resolution number 2024-R-15, establishing a public improvement fee for the engineering plan review and construction inspection of public infrastructure projects. And Mrs. Abel, you have the floor.
Okay, well, the next item before you is a resolution. This is a continuation of the last city council meeting. As a discussion item, we talked about the development fee / public improvement fee. This is for any subdivision that is constructed within the city of Spring Hill. We typically review the plans and then do the construction inspections as necessary as the construction progresses with the street and storm, the erosion and sediment control, the curb and gutter, sidewalks, any public improvements that are associated with that. We had discussion in the last meeting about what other cities have been doing. Presented you guys with the graph that it was somewhere between 4 and 5% that other cities like us were doing to collect a fee from the developer. That the council had recommended support of a 5% fee. For that, that would be 5% of the total improvement cost. So whatever the cost of the street would be, if it was $1 million, we would collect 5%. And that 5% would go towards any staff time to perform any plan reviews, any additional support that we would need to get from our on-call engineers to review anything above and beyond what staff could do. If there was a retaining wall that was a certain height, we would want a structural engineer to review that if we would need any additional inspections above and beyond what the city could do. Again, certifying that that retaining wall was constructed per the plans. Anything else we would perform in-house with myself as well as our new construction inspector. I've invited Cassidy Bridges. She is our new construction inspector. We will be doing all of that in-house, and then as we need to, we will engage some of our on-call engineers to support us, anything above and beyond. Like I mentioned, the structural engineering, any geotechnical, anything that's above and beyond what the normal plan review would be. And then in addition to that, any construction materials testing that we would need to make sure that the concrete, asphalt, subgrade is according to our industry standards. So with that, I wanted to bring this back before you in a resolution so that we can officially approve this. The next step would be for us to, we can start collecting this today, but we will formalize this in our schedule of fees whenever we update that. And I believe that's coming before you in January, I want to say. So next time you see the schedule of fees, this fee will formally be included on there. But with the action tonight, we would be able to formally collect the 5% fee moving forward. So with that, staff recommends the approval of a resolution with the 5% development / public improvement fee so that we can perform these duties in-house. I'm available if you have any questions.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I think we talked about it last meeting. I think it's something everyone else is doing, and with bringing, you in-house and then bringing an inspector in-house, this is something else that we can bring additional funds into the city without costing us or costing our citizens additional money and stuff. So yeah, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I had one question. So when you charge the 5%, is it only on what we're able to do, or do you charge on the whole thing and then pay out the additional contractors if we need them?
The 5% would be all of it. We would collect the 5%, and that would be any internal and external costs.
Okay, so then we would pay the outside rather than letting them contract with the.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Just to simplify things, and we
Yeah.
feel that 5% will more than cover. And in the off chance that we would need to hire somebody additional, then we would have enough money in that surplus to be able to cover that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's the way I read it. I just wanted to make sure that's how it was, because I know
That's how it is.
I know they have like a sliding scale for the other ones that we've used before, and so I know we're going flat rather than.
It's better to go flat that way.
That's what
It's
I
just
think.
evenly applied and just it's
Yeah.
consistent.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
A lot less complicated for paperwork and everything else too.
Yeah, easier for staff to manage.
Cool.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution 2024-R-15, establishing a public improvement fee for the engineering plan review and construction inspection of public infrastructure projects.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of ordinance number 2024-16, adopting the 2024 Standard Traffic Ordinance 51st edition, published by the League of Kansas Municipalities. And Mr. Lau, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. Not a whole lot to talk about here, just updating this to the newest edition of the Standard Traffic Ordinance. It is highly similar to what we did last year, but we are trying to keep the city up every year as opposed to randomly picking every 2 to 3 years like we have in the past. So just keeping this up to date makes lives easier for our police department. Yes, Chief, fair? Yes, okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't want to speak out of turn for that. So any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, this is sort of.
Are there any major changes or like bullet points on it, or is it pretty much just? I know every year there's a few things that they kind of target on, but is there anything like that we would need to know on it, or is it pretty straightforward?
Nothing.
The laws changed on July 1, and I think there were just a few minor adjustments to some things, but I'll tell you what they are.
Go.
Yeah, nothing major.
How does it work with us having like the golf carts legal on certain streets and not being probably what the League of Kansas does for everything?
Sure. So for this in the Public Offense Code, which is coming up next, the city has the ability to pick and choose parts of the traffic ordinance, Public Offense Code that we like and don't like.
Okay.
So that's why this isn't just a one sentence ordinance that says we like the STO, we're using it. So everything in that ordinance you can see we can add to, remove, or amend provisions of the standard traffic ordinance. So the golf carts, that's something that's unique to the city.
Yeah.
That most other cities don't have or do. So
Okay.
that's something, and as we go forward, if that's something you guys don't like, you are always welcome to propose that we stop putting that in there. Or other parts of these ordinances, the city can change, amend as much as we want. So if there's parts of the Public Offense Code or traffic ordinance you all aren't liking or don't think is working, can be tweaked for something that is different for us than other cities, we have the complete flexibility to amend those as necessary. And we can do that in the middle of years. It makes things a little more complicated. I'd recommend waiting till next time we do this, but that's something we can do as we go. So
Total side note, I think the golf cart thing, I think that's one thing that does make us unique from a lot of communities. I think a lot of people do like it. I think that they're able to do that, able to have them.
Yeah, the only complaints I've got is that it is hard to get from certain parts of the city to other parts, like say like where I'm from to get to downtown, or from them to get to Price Chopper or whatnot. So I don't know if there's a way to address that at all, like with Victory Road. I know that one's kind of I know it's a little bit higher speed, but it's a shorter road, so I don't know if there's a flexibility there of where we can maybe make changes to allow people to be able to get to one side of town to kind of the other. But
yeah, no, that's something we can absolutely explore and make that change. So staff will we'll workshop that and see, we'll work with the police department. And
yeah,
community
recently
development,
it's
see
become a
what
huge thing. So when I saw this, I was like, well,
Yeah,
it's a good
it
time to
definitely
bring
has,
it up.
because my sister lives over in that area. If I'm gonna get to her, I have to go
Yeah.
Victory Road.
Well,
to
there's a
get there
big,
and
there's a
stuff.
golf cart club now that's, I think, citywide, so they
Yeah.
like to get together and drive around, so I know they've gotten pulled over a few times on Victory, so that's where, I got hit up by quite a few of them last couple weeks.
Okay, yeah, we can look into that.
So,
I have a question. How old does somebody have to be to drive those? Cause I
driver's
see,
license, I think.
oh, okay. Okay, cause I'm seeing like no driver's.
And
license,
yeah,
kids
I was gonna
driving.
say, we've had them come over and get some kids in our neighborhood a few times, and they've kind of stopped. I don't really see them. Chief might be able to speak to it more.
I was just curious, cause I noticed it, I think it was last week when I was out walking.
I know this was
There were some kids.
sorry, I'm the one that made us go off on this
Yeah.
trail. I know
No,
this
that's
is not
okay.
exactly
Yeah, it triggered
what
me
we're
when you
addressing,
said
but
golf.
go ahead.
No, I was just wondering like how you guys enforce that, and I mean, I guess when you see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to Chief on enforcement of
Okay.
Well,
code.
just a little bit of historical reference to it. It's been probably about 2-3 years ago when we changed the ordinance to
Yeah,
allow
about
golf
3 years.
It
carts.
was right
in the
before all of
city.
us got on here.
Oh,
That was at a request by a resident who wanted us to consider allowing golf carts to drive from their home to the pool.
We looked at golf carts only and limited it to a 25-mile-an-hour zone, which covers nearly a lot of it and also all of the neighborhoods to get people to pools. It was not addressing as a method of transportation throughout the whole city. So yes, it's not legal on Webster or Victory or anything that's above 25 miles an hour. You can cross the street, but you can't drive on the street. So any enforcement, usually they're stopped and warned. It's not until it's become a frequent habit and that if there's been any citations, and off the top of my head, I don't really know. I would say if there has been a citation, it's been very, very minimal.
I've only heard warnings, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a lot of them got warnings.
Now, at the time, I hesitate bringing that forward, but is that whether or not you wanted to entertain adding UTVs, because there are those that are out there doing that, the side-by-sides, they would have to be basically a legal vehicle licensed, having lights, tail lights, signals, things of that nature. If you were wanting to look at that, that is another option to consider if you want to have more golf carts, UTV-style vehicles driving throughout your city.
I think it's something I'd definitely be willing to look at, especially if
open
I
to
go,
it, yeah.
like with Victory and stuff, because I'll, probably not supposed to do this, but I'll admit it, I've driven my golf cart in Victory,
Yeah.
because I had to get from one place to so it's,
Sick 'em.
so. I've only done it once,
There's
but I
pluses
have
and
done it.
minuses to both. I mean, I know
Yeah.
Lewisburg allows them to do it.
Yeah,
You know, you have to have a vehicle that'll drive that speed limit,
Yeah.
and you have to realize that other drivers may or may not see you. It's not as protected as one with full
right,
Yeah.
stuff on there, and you're supposed to be a licensed driver.
yeah,
And typically, those who choose not to do that, historically, at least through our experiences, feel like a golf cart is safer for a 14, 13, 12, 10-year-old to drive,
yeah.
so. But
Thanks.
Sounds
We
good.
can
Thank
look
you,
into
Chief.
that. We'll survey some other cities and see what folks are doing. Spring Hill's hitting that size where some of those things are, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if
borderline
it's a
10 years ago.
like, hey, just everywhere type thing, but I think being able to connect to other parts. So if we say, hey, it's this short period of Victory, and
Right,
I know the other complaint was, hey, we can't get to like Dollar General because you have to go on Webster to get there when they live right here, so they can't get over to like Dollar General. So those are the complaints I've heard. So just ways. I don't know if there's little tweaks we can make to make that possible.
yeah, I'd say at least worth the discussion,
Yeah.
for sure.
Cool. Other
Any
than
other
that,
questions or
sounds good.
comments? Any comments for four-wheelers? Four-wheelers? Okay, go ahead.
You ready for me?
Yep.
All right. Move to approve ordinance number 2024-16, adopting the 2024 Standard Traffic Ordinance 51st edition, published by the League of Kansas Municipalities.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Ms. Feback,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Van Houten.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2024-16 passes 4-0-0.
Thank you very much. I think I vote on that one, don't I?
No.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is consider approval of ordinance number 2024-17, adopting the 2024 Uniform Public Offense Code 40th edition, published by the League of Kansas Municipalities. And Mr. Lau, you still have the floor.
Same concept here, updating to the new year's version. You're probably gonna see me in a year doing it for 2025, so, same concept here. We can amend, change, adapt, whatever we want in and out of the standard. But other than that, any questions, happy to answer it. Otherwise, yeah, nothing too groundbreaking in this year's.
Yeah, I don't, is there anything crazy we, opt out of on this?
No, I mean, there's some things, there's been some changes in the last few years, like the unlawful hunting provisions. They've updated the UPOC a little bit there, so we're getting closer to what the form is, so it's probably something worth tracking of, do we really need to have our own code? And some of the criminal littering, little things here and there, but for the most part, nothing too big that we need to keep a pulse on, so.
All right.
Any other questions or comments?
All right.
If not, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve ordinance number 2024-17, adopting the 2024 Uniform Public Offense Code 40th edition, published by the League of Kansas Municipalities.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in, oh, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Van Houten,
Yes.
Ms. Feback.
Yes.
Let's see, ordinance number 2024-17 passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to the item that was moved off of consent onto formal council action. It's number 14A with radios. And Chief Henson, you have the floor.
All right, good evening. Earlier this year, you guys approved the updated EOP, Emergency Operating Procedure. And as part of putting together our EOC, which is Emergency Operations Center, together, communication capabilities is a factor in handling emergencies during a disaster. What this is seeking approval for APX 900 radios, which basically allow the radios to communicate with the police radio. Right now, the radios that we have in Public Works are like a walkie-talkie, you know. I don't know if they're citywide, if you can access them citywide. We have 2 radios in the PD that officers are supposed to take out on snow days so they can communicate with the plows and stuff like that. They don't always make it out of the office. But in this case, it would allow Public Works, police to communicate throughout the year, and then during an emergency operation, police, Public Works, all of your field reporters that are out there on a disaster can report back to EOC without having to use a go-between and using walkie-talkies. And for example, if I were in the EOC, I'd be using my police radio to contact police, relayed through Public Works, having to contact them that way. So this try to limits the amount of radio differences that we have. A city channel would be assigned for Public Works to use throughout their regular 365 days of the year. If police and Public Works needed to talk, they could switch to that channel and they could have that conversation. Public Works did not and would not have access to the police primary radio channels or any of the secondary channels or anything like that. It'd strictly be a city channel. But in an emergency, you could use it to talk to Johnson County and to our Emergency Operations Center. So the thought is that we would get enough to outfit current Public Works and allow for a few to be in our EOC kits so that if an emergency, we would have those, and as well as allowing community development to have a radio or 2 as well. So we've asked for, I did some research, unfortunately, with radios, it's never apple to apple. So you have Motorola, you have Harris. Those are 2 that are primarily used in this area. Police radios that we have are Harris radios. The radios that are in our car are Motorola's. Most of the radios that other agencies use around here, there's just 2 others that use Harris, use Motorola. Talking to Harris radios and Motorola, they're not an apple to apple. They had 2 different systems. Harris was much more expensive than Motorola, and we were fortunate enough that they would allow us to use the Johnson County contract, which is a significant discount over any other state contract. So what we're recommending is that you approve the purchase of 18 units through Motorola Solutions to be issued to Public Works and the EOC. This purchase includes chargers, I have a typo there, and add-ons to allow radios to communicate with the police radios. And also allowing City Administrator Massey to sign the purchase order. So you can do that, or deny it, or table. Any questions?
How often do you find the need for these as far as emergencies go? I mean, in the past, have we had run into big issues without having that type of radio?
Well, we've been very fortunate, right, that we have not had a major disaster. You know, this is an insurance policy. Where other agencies across the area, they have them and they use them on a day-to-day basis. And then when they do have an emergency, whether it is the apartment fire, if you remember that a few years ago, well, it was probably about 7 years ago now, I guess, almost, maybe longer, but that was huge. I was in the EOC at that time, and it was easy to communicate with everybody that was there. But that would not be considered a normal disaster. If we were to have a major fire or major incident here, that might be something that we would be implementing or initiating the EOC. We haven't had any major weather disasters. We hope we never do. But if we were, we would want to be prepared. The nice thing about radios like this, they do have a long shelf life. Like they'll be around 10+ years.
That's what I was gonna ask, yeah, how many
Yeah.
years do we
Yeah.
expect to get out of these for this amount?
Yeah, they don't have the same replacement schedule that maybe laptops do or some of the other high-use things. These things are made pretty well, so they can last 10+ years.
Is there any warranty that's provided by the company, like if, say, 5 years down the road, one of them breaks, do they replace it? for
So
free?
we have, in the proposal is a 3-year service warranty. But after that, no, you're kind of on the hook.
On your own?
Yeah.
So this would be used day to day by at least Public Works?
Yes. And if community development wants to use it, I don't know if they would use it during their day-to-day, but yeah, Public Works will be using it daily.
And this would be replacing the regular walkie-talkies that they're using now?
Yes.
At a previous place of employment, we went through this as a city and an employer and stuff, and so yes, it's definitely an insurance policy, so I definitely agree with it.
I get that it'd be nice to have. I don't know if it's necessary for the cost. Seems pretty high for what their, the back end use is. That's just where I'm at on it. I feel like, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but 45 grand, we probably could save for something else. Or is this deal like we only get it right now, or is it if we decide next year we want to put it in the budget?
If you decide next year, and then we would go and get bids again and see if the contract still exists. I mean, I will tell you that this radio that I carry, that the officers carry, is about $4,600.
Yeah. Yeah, I see for police department, I think Public Works, are there big issues with what you're using now, Jacob?
On a day-to-day basis, the ones we have, work okay, work just fine for normal daily operations. It really is in that, in any kind of emergency, or if we need some interoperability, we're trying to work with the police department on a major disaster event or a more, small, several hour local event. It gets really cumbersome. Like Chief said, we end up with a translator, so to
Yeah.
speak. You've got someone from the PD with their radio standing beside someone from Public Works with a Public Works radio, and it's like the old telephone game. You hear it over the radio, you relay it to the person beside you, they send it out. It takes time. The chances of things going wrong, something getting lost in translation is there. It is not something that we would use every day, like Councilmember Feedback said. It really is more of an insurance policy. We don't need it until we do, and then it's a really valuable tool.
And does this work with like Miami and Johnson County, you said? As far as being able to communicate if there was a big emergency?
So there is interoperability with this radio. We would have it programmed where we could switch to certain channels. There are some mutual aid channels that we may be able to program on these radios. Johnson County has said that they would program these for us, so we don't have to pay for programming.
Okay,
And we would just figure out how many channels we can actually program it on.
okay.
So you'd have to figure out Miami counties then,
We would have to see whether we could.
if that was operable or not.
Yeah, we do have the ability to talk to Miami County on our police radios. So we would have to look at they call them keys. So you have certain keys you have to have in order to be on the Johnson County side. You have to have certain keys to be able to talk to the Miami County side. So we would have to get all that figured out, whether we could put a Miami channel on there.
I think to me, it's something important to have a good open line of communication between all departments. I think it's a good, you guys keep saying insurance policy, but really good, especially, we might not need them tomorrow, but maybe we do. Maybe we do need them tomorrow. So I think it's a good thing to have in place. I would rather have it in place and something happen than not have, something never happen and not have them in place and something happen and we're scrambling trying to figure out how to, possibly something bad happen that we weren't prepared for because we weren't able to communicate properly.
Well, and then that's the thing with emergency services, whether it's fire, police, MedAC, we have a lot of tools, a lot of things that we hope we never have to use, but we have to have them because when you do need them, you need them.
I mean, a simple one's like a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. You know, hope you never have to use it. I've never had to use mine, but my wife grew up in her home, and her mom, their kitchen caught on fire and burned almost the whole kitchen down. So, and they didn't have a fire extinguisher in the house. So, you know, it definitely does happen.
In terms of funding, so we didn't budget it in, so how is that gonna, how are we?
It's,
Well, I think, yeah, my question is,
It's on
why
there.
wasn't it budgeted if we were planning on doing this?
Because of the dollar value that, the purchase represents, it'll actually not run through the regular general fund operating budget. It's coming out of an equipment fund, which is a non-budgeted fund.
Okay.
That's where we put money away, and when we need to buy things like radios or other things,
Lawnmower.
then we use that fund, and you, determine how that fund is used. And this is what we're choosing to do with some of the equipment money. So it will not run through the regular budget.
I guess my biggest concern, or what you clarified, was the life expectancy or the time frame. You know, I think the 10+ years, I always think about electronics being like a 3 to 5 year plan.
Yeah.
And 10+ years of kind of having, like we said, the safety net is reassuring. So, yeah, it means a lot of money. So I think it's a good conversation to have. Appreciate you clarifying. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
I mean, even if we only get 10 years, you know, that's $4,000.
Yeah, it's 4,500 a year.
That's kind of how I look at it too.
Yeah, no, when I saw radios, I was like, 45 grand for radios. We gotta find out. I wanna hear what it,
Sure.
you know, I just didn't wanna run it through consent.
I think it's like 42 though, isn't it?
Yeah.
On here it says 45.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think,
42,706.27.
yeah,
They are expensive.
they are expensive. They are. It is, no doubt. I wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
The dollar amount differences, I like to round them off because something will happen. There'll be shipping or something we don't have tonight, and if you approve exactly the right amount, then we end up back in here saying, no, we need another $500. And so I just rounded it off for a little cushion in the event of something we can't plan for.
Okay, I think it's fine. I just wanted to talk about it more rather than just running it through. I feel like anything that's this amount, I think we should talk about at least so we know what we're voting on, so.
Sure.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion.
You want me to say the 45 on this? Okay. Move to approve the purchase of Motorola APX 900 radios for Public Works and Emergency Operations Center, not to exceed an amount of 45,000.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. That ends formal council action at this time. We'll move on to discussion item. And first item on the agenda is building code updates. And Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
I'm looking sharp up there. Look
Just for you,
at that
Chip.
pop of a tie.
Good evening. Well, this is on the updated on the building codes. To give you a little background, we're in the 2006 international codes. It's a good, safe code. The thing that it does not cover anymore is energy efficiencies. You know, 2006, if would have told you can talk to your furnace with your telephone, you would just laughed at us, you know. So there are some changes in it though that we're looking at with the Home Builders Association as well as the other jurisdictions in the area. To give you a real quick idea, you can now, a slab house could have like a 1 foot frost footing if you put some insulation. Well, I'm still old school, so you're gonna have to prove that to me that, you know, it's not going to affect. But to give you an idea, it's 3 foot right now.
Okay.
So, you know, we are actually running a few tests on it in conjunction with the builder to see if it's going to hold up. And, you know, 5-6 years down the road, or maybe next year, we have a real hard freeze, a bad winter, and we start getting houses that buckle, you know, we don't want that. So obviously, you know, the building codes and actually our department, statistically wise, we take care or oversee the largest investment of almost 80% of the entire population is your home. So, you know, 401s, nobody beats us. So we just look at it, we try and keep the people's investment the best we can. We don't agree with everything in the code. We have been already meeting with builders and developers on it due to the fact, if you take around a $300,000 house, it's gonna probably add about $8,000. You take a house that's, greater than that, let's say in the $5 to $1 million range, you'll add about 20,000. Yeah, okay, but you know, that disqualifies a lot of people as well. So we would, you know, we're working with all the builders to see if they can work in this and still have price point. I mean, even your larger homes, you know, there's a lot of them that $400,000, $500,000 and you add another 20 to it, you know, they're priced out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, and I think that the price will continue to go down as the normalcy of it comes about, and maybe better products. You know, I don't want to call it a cheaper version of products, but a less expensive product that does the same thing. The 2006 code is not ICC, International Code Council. They are not any longer supporting the 2006. Obviously, you know, it's old, so we're forced into it. The unique thing is where we are in the geographics here is most of the 2021, 2018, and 24 code items are already being put into houses. Porthole framing, putting the
Fire blocking.
exactly, those type of items are already being built in, because if you're across the street, you're not gonna tell your crew, "Well, change all this up just going across the street." They wanna keep it uniform, and that's why we want to keep it uniform with the area.
Would this also include like, storm shelters like in slab homes?
There is a provision in there, and to be real honest with you, we're looking to see what the other communities do. That's another $6,000 to $8,000 expense, and we've had an awful lot of pushback on that, especially
Just say with how many slab homes are going in now, that's kind of the new thing, it seems like, and
Oh, it is.
I feel like we probably should say, hey, this needs to be included. 'Cause
Right,
I know
so
the ones by me did, which I was like, that's really good, but I know a lot of them aren't doing that.
a little more price
Yeah.
here, you know. We have had some discussions with every builder, and we get some pushback on some of it, so we're trying to work out through some of those details. You know, they have it as an option, everybody does, so, but, you know, they were pretty, I remember when some of those were built, you actually received a federal credit
Oh, okay.
through FEMA, and that program just disappeared. Bless you. So, but we are looking at it. The planning commission wants it really, really bad, but it's gonna come down to, we'll bring a report to you guys and say, okay, you know, and we would imagine some of the builders will show up if there's controversy on it,
Yeah.
you know, so.
And this type of code wouldn't include like, energy efficiency and
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that as far as, well, I mean, more kind of the solar route.
No, well, it does, yes.
Oh, it does, okay.
Everything that is, like the IRC that's on the table there, it's just for residential. And there are sections in there for solar panels. We go through a lot of them. We have to check and make sure that the existing roof rafters, you know, can handle it. And then they have to tear the electric out and all that. So we now inspect all those. But yes, it does still. Now, as far as allowing it and not allowing it, there has been a new state statute that says you can't stop it.
Like HOAs can't stop?
No.
Okay, well,
They can-
that was kind of where I was going with that. Like, I
Exactly.
know we have HOAs in town that,
Well, they did.
I know like 2 years ago, there was an
That's
issue with
correct.
one that
Yeah.
made somebody remove theirs.
At Brookwood Farms.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, I've heard, I think
So-
Woodland Ridge had the same problem.
Woodland Ridge, yes. But Brookwood Farms had a couple of them that were trying, matter of fact, I think one of them put it up or something.
Yeah, and then he
'Cause
took.
they came
Yeah,
to
I
us
put
and
that-
tried to, yeah.
Yeah.
But the state statutes changed on that.
Oh, okay, so that is updated, so we don't. have to mess
Renewable
with it.
energy. The only thing they didn't do, which was good, is allow for a wind turbine in the backyard, so can you imagine? Now, they are reviewing, it is ice turbine or something. It's made in Iceland, and they're actually just about this big, and they produce.
Those are the ones that look like a DirecTV. thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and so they are looking at that, the state is right now, so.
Okay.
But even at that, you know,
Are we trying to go to the 2018 code or the 2024?
24.
Okay.
Almost everybody's on the 18,
That's what
16.
I thought 18 was the most popular one right now.
Right, and so the 18 had some flaws, and so they corrected those in the 24 actually, and not in the 21. And so everyone's moving towards the 21. And we figured, you know, or 24, I'm sorry. We figured we might as well get caught up with everybody, because, you know, what, another 20 years if the code can allow us that. And it's really, really expensive, honestly.
It is.
It's not just, I mean, you know, we'll end up, luckily for being able to have digital versions and things like that, but it's still, it costs quite a bit. Those guys charge a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's
We'll
a lot.
probably spend about 35, 40,000.
It's a lot of extra work for staff too, to keep themselves updated on everything that's changed in the codes as well too.
Right.
And I know you guys update throughout the years yourselves.
We do,
it's,
but,
it's still a lot of extra
they-
work to remember to go.
Right, the guys and gals, they have to go to continuing ed,
Mhm.
you know, I'm too old for that crap. But, no, honestly, and it does cost quite a bit for continuing ed and all.
Oh, for
Luckily, I will say Johnson County puts on, you probably know,
Yep.
the, twice a year now, I think,
Mhm.
where you can get some continuing ed pretty reasonable.
Yep.
So, I think it's a good move where we are, truthfully nervous about the pushback on, you know, the, energy part of it. Everything else is pretty standard. Now, we will be removing a few things out of it. We'll see how this footing design stuff comes out. And then, you know, to give you another example, like now you can use your electric panel, use it as a junction box, and take two circuits, 2 home runs, and put it in one breaker, as long as you do not exceed your breaker.
I was say, I thought you could, that was a newer thing when we did our basement.
Right, well, we don't think that's correct.
No. I was gonna say, that's what they told me to do our basement.
Exactly, and, you know, you just think about it, you get in there and you have 2 circuits. Let's say you have your, laundry, your main floor and hearth room, something, and you're running 2 vacuums. Eventually that wire nut, you guys, is gonna swell,
Yeah.
expand and contract, and it will loosen. Where just to save $10 breaker.
Mhm.
So those are things that we still look for. It's not gonna be popular, but, you know, my gosh, a $10 breaker,
Well, and they make enough spaces and panels now.
Exactly.
Fit
Well,
plenty of breakers.
that's actually how we started realizing our code right now does not allow it. And we go in and we take pictures of every panel. We also turn off the smoke detector breaker and test the battery. So we're looking at this and, you know, you've got this big panel with 11 breakers. Like, wait a minute, there's 20 rooms, you know, and you divide that in half, you know, it just, and plus you have to have 3 appliance circuits, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, now the appliance circuits, you can't do that too. But I don't know, we're gonna look at it. I just don't like stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and it could be dangerous. I mean, just if you, people that use space
definitely.
heaters and stuff like that. I mean, if you had space heaters on a split circuit like that,
Same
that could
thing.
that could be a major.
Vacuum, space heaters, hair dryers, you know, in your room, I know my youngest daughter used to sit on her floor and blow dry her hair, you know, and all that heats up.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are a few things, and I don't think we'll get much pushback, and bless you. on that, but, so we will, HBA looks like they will be completed the end of this year. We're shooting for March,
Of
implementing this. We will have some updates along the way. And then real quick, the other thing that in conjunction with this, we are working on some zoning classification changes and clean up some of the areas in the zoning book also. We're gonna go to right now, we just have an M1 zoning.
I was gonna say, are we gonna add some?
Yes, we're gonna go to an M1, M2. You know, where it gives some division area. We'll have the M1 like what's being built on 183rd and Webster. And then M2 would be more, like the concrete plant would actually be in an M2 probably. But
Are we gonna add something for small industrial to separate that out?
it would be the M1.
Oh, that's what the M1 will be?
Yes,
And
and
M2 will
M2
go
would
to
be
the
your
more
heavy.
aggressive?
That's
Okay.
correct.
I didn't know if we would keep one as the most aggressive and two would be less.
No, because it sometimes would confuse people, especially when C1, C2,
Yeah.
you know, and it gets more aggressive as you go.
cool.
So, anyway, just keep you up to date on that. I know you've heard a lot that we're backwards, that we're still in the 2006, but they're all safe, don't worry. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you,
I'm
Pat.
sorry.
Yeah, any questions, comments?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to announcements and reports. Don't really have any announcements that I can think of on my own. Mr. Young,
I don't have anything tonight.
Mr. Van Houten,
Nada.
Mr. Peel. Mrs. Feedback.
I don't have any announcements, but, and I don't know if it's Lane or Jacob, but, can somebody give an update as to where we're at with the traffic lights? And I'm sorry I didn't let you know before, on 191st and 183rd. Sometimes I just get people on the fly asking me about those and where we're at. Can you just give a quick update?
Currently on 191st Street, Lamper Nearson is working through that design.
Okay.
Once they get that completed, and I can't remember, it's sometime after the first of the year, they should be submitting an application to the state for review.
Okay.
Once that goes through the state's process, we're hopeful that that'll be approved in first quarter-ish. Maybe it may drag into the second quarter, and then we would bring that back to the governing body. We'll go out for bid and then bring the bids back in, and hopefully there's some good bids and that we can go out to start construction. Our goal would be in 2025. If for some reason it drags along with KDOT or something, it could be in late 25. But our goal would be spring of 25 to start 191st Street. 183rd Street, okay, the property there has closed with a new developer. So we'll be working with them in the process of hopefully getting that project moving along too. That still has to go back through KDOT to be approved. And once it's officially approved, then we would do the same thing, go out to bid that project, bring it back to the governing body. And then hopefully we would bid those two projects at the same time. If everything goes well, both those projects would be a 2025 project.
Okay. And then can you address we had a citizen come up and talk about the shoulders, so what do we need to do to get that
Yeah,
done?
I was gonna say that too, I forgot.
What we'll do is I'll talk to Jacob on that,
Yep.
unless he wants to talk about it now, but we'll discuss it at the staff level and see what he can do, and feel free to answer.
On increasing those shoulders, like what the citizen said, or Bill?
Yeah,
I can
in
say
fact, I
that.
put a note on my phone, just as he was speaking, I'll go out and look at it tomorrow, get a feel for exactly what's going on and kind of come up with a plan for, what we can do to address it. So, we'll look into it right away.
Okay, and then lastly, I had a citizen get a hold of me this week, and I just want to publicly thank you for handling the situation. Can you please just briefly, because I know there wasn't very much briefness in the handling. Can you just go through like when a citizen doesn't mow their yard and then how that works with paying and different things? Can you, or how you guys take the picture and notification? If you could just kind of go through that, because it's not a gotcha thing, it's like there's a process. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, so what happens is, our code enforcement officer will either take a complaint, and usually it's always complaint driven from the neighborhood. Go out, take pictures, they will send a courtesy letter, and they will do door hangers, they'll knock on the door. They take pictures of all that as they go. A lot of people have a tendency to say, never knocked on my door, I never talked to him, I never got a letter. If there's no response, then we send out a code violation letter by certified mail. And I believe it gives them 10 days to take care of the violation, and if they don't, we mow it. We assess it, we send them a bill, they have the right to pay it. If they don't pay it, and they usually call and all that, then we assess it to the property taxes. Now, where it really comes in is once we notify them, we do not have to notify ever again for that calendar year. But what we still do is we still put door hangers. And a lot of times if it's a controversial type person that we know of, then we'll call them. We have a couple of them that we're in contact, well, Brandon's in contact, and then they call me. But so yes, we do everything we can. And truthfully, if anyone ever says, look, I was notified, I got this bill, I can guarantee you can come into our office and we can show you pictures. Because there's no reason for us not to do it correctly, So we go way and above beyond, because really our code says all we have to do is send a certified letter.
Right.
So,
And then, so reasonable length, can you,
sure, right, 10 inches, the code says 8. The code says 8, thank you. 10 inches, and, it's not, and like I said, most of the time, it's a call from a neighbor saying, look, and, they haven't mowed, and now we're getting rodents, which that's not an
That's usually
exaggeration.
the big issue, yeah.
Snakes.
Yes.
Really, I mean, and it does happen for some reason. So reasonably, it ends up 12 inches. It really does.
Yeah, by the time you're done doing all the
Right,
notifications.
yes, so.
I just wanted somebody to
Nope.
say it, so whether
Sure.
it's somebody watching or it's in the minutes or
And-
something like that on how the process of that.
Right,
is.
and
Yeah.
we can tell everyone, seriously, if you get a hanger, you get a notification, call. We also can get you in touch with our mowing company that costs you less. We're not there, we don't wanna bill it out. So, yes, and we've done that a lot, where the mowing company that we have mows some people's lawns now on a regular basis, and it's half price, so.
Thank you for your explanation.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Lane, for helping me.
And just to reiterate, as he walks back, Brandon has a lot to do on his day job, so he is not driving around with a ruler. Noting, this yard's at 7.5 inches, I'll be back in 3
Come
days,
on.
so, yeah. Don't worry, it is very complaint-driven process, so.
Yeah, this was years ago, but I had a neighbor that didn't mow his backyard for 2 years. And so I definitely had a lot of snakes and stuff in my backyard, so. I didn't complain though. Publicly. Mr. Gray,
I have nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Massey.
Just a real quick note, this will be the last meeting in November due to the holidays, so I think it falls on Thanksgiving Day, and I don't think anybody wants to give up turkey dinner to come to a council meeting, so just wanted to remind everybody of that.
Mr. Lau.
No report?
Chief Henson.
Just wanted to say that Blue Elves is approaching. We are going to start having the tree with the wish lists for the families that have been nominated in our lobby on November 22nd. Right now, we have a total of 4 families that have been nominated. We had 2 additional families nominated, but they live outside of Spring Hill, so we have some local churches that are going to assist them. And we are also waiting for maybe a few more to come through. So For those of you who may be stopping by the Chamber Coffee this, on the 22nd that we're hosting, you can grab a little mitten ornament from the tree, and if you'd like, and help a family that has been nominated during the holiday season.
Awesome.
Thanks.
And just, I have had several people each year contact me and say, hey, I just have some gifts that I would like to drop off somewhere, like for this. Is that still possible? Like if they just had random, like good gifts that they wanted to drop off at the police station, or is that something that you guys don't really want?
So we've had that in the past, and we've had gifts that we just haven't been able to match with the right families. It's better if they have things that match the wish list. So
Okay.
we don't have to store them or look for other places to hand them off.
Okay, so maybe then find a different place that might be better suited for, okay.
And I know there's, LifeSpring does, they do a lot of adoptive families, and some of the other local churches do adoptive families, so they may be having, like I know one year we got little baby infants, which really would be for maybe little girls or something like that, and we didn't have any on the list. So we had those in our storage for a while until we could find a place for them.
Okay. But I just asked because I've had some people call me each year and say, hey, I have these, bought some extra gifts this year. Is there somewhere I could take them? And the only place I could think of really was you guys locally. So. All right. Mr. Burton,
No, I'll talk to you guys later.
Mrs. Abel.
We're out.
I just have one update for you. We had our on-call engineering and architectural services RFQ deadline was today. We received 39 proposals from a variety of engineering companies in the area. So our selection committee will be reviewing those proposals, and we'll be back before you with a recommendation for approval of those contracts, maybe in December, but most likely in January, since we have 39 of them to review. That's all I have.
Awesome. That's awesome. We got that many. That gives us a good opportunity to go through them and pick the best ones and stuff. So, yeah. Mrs. Dunn.
Since this is our only meeting in November, and the next time we'll be together is in kind of mid-December, we will have hometown holidays here at City Hall on Friday, December 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. There's a lot of things in plans, and it's a joint activity with the Rec Commission, and I think it's always a great event every year, and we'll see Santa and Mrs. Claus and all the good things, and maybe a few surprises this year. So we're looking forward to it, and everyone mark your calendars. We look forward to seeing you there.
December 6th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, 6 to 8 p.m. And there's free pictures with Santa and the line. There's a line, but the line's usually a lot shorter than Bass Pro or any other places. So, yeah. Lots of fun. We had a real good turnout last year and the last several years. So, yeah, come on out. It's lots of fun. Mrs. Wood?
No report.
Mrs. Jones?
No report.
Mr. Spear?
No report.
With that, we'll move on to executive session. And we have, how many minutes do we need on that first one?
15, it looks like. Man, it's late on that clock, huh?
With that, I entertain a motion to move into executive session, and we need
15
approximately 15 minutes, so whoever wants to tackle that one.
I move the city council recess into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss matters of non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 8:18 p.m. No formal action is anticipated following the session. Persons to be in attendance are following: Lane Massey, City Administrator, and Spencer Lau, City Attorney.
A second.
Got a motion, second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. We will see you guys shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Let the record reflect that the governing body reconvened in open meeting at 8:18 p.m. No votes were taken or decisions made during the executive session. The discussion was limited to the subject stated. With that, I entertain a motion to extend this another 10 minutes.
Do I need to reread the whole thing? Move to extend this executive session 10 more minutes, returning at 8:29 p.m.
Second.
Got a motion second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. We'll see you soon. Oh, no, you don't have to do it. I can do it. I don't care.
Winners are slow season.
Well, and plus, you know, me and Meg need to have a nice party.
Welcome back, everybody. Let the record reflect that the governing body reconvened into open meeting at 8:29 PM. No votes were taken or decisions made during the executive session. The discussion was limited to the subject stated. With that, I entertain a motion to move into executive session number 2. And we need
15 on that one too.
15 minutes on that one as well.
All right, I move the city council recess into executive session for 15 minutes to receive advice of council regarding land use and economic development to KSA 75-4319B2 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at, let's do 8:46 PM. No formal action is anticipated following the session. Persons to be in attendance are the following: Lane Massey, City Administrator; Spencer Lau, City Attorney; and Mr. Pat Burton, Community Development Director.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. See you guys soon. Welcome back, everybody. Let the record reflect the governing body reconvened in an open meeting at 8:46 PM. No votes were taken or decisions made during the executive session. The discussion was limited to the subject stated. And with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?